Hey, Rich.
Yeah, Ty, what's up?
Oh, I just wondered, did you get those reports we were talking about yesterday?
Yeah, I've got them. Do you want to look at them?
Yeah, I was wondering if you had time, maybe meet me at the gate.
I'm Rich Levine, and this is Meet Me at the Gate, where we're not just talking theory, we're tackling real-world problems head-on, driving solutions that supercharge productivity and team dynamics. Every episode is a journey towards improvement, empowering you, the manager, to lead with innovation and confidence. Join us to transform everyday roadblocks into highways for success.
Hey, Rich. I was at an auction today, and there was a general manager there. I've known him for a long time. Super good guy. But anyway, I was watching him, and the auction's going. There's obviously a lot of stress involved on sale day. So it's sale day. There's cars everywhere, people everywhere. I walk up, hey, I need a bidder badge. Go talk to me. Things are sale day. And so sale's going. And he's actually up on the block, which I thought was really cool, too. So
I was on the block today.
Okay.
Heck
good.
yeah.
So anyway, I'm just watching and I'm thinking, because of my relationship with you and some of the things we talk about, I was thinking, I wonder what kind of stress this guy's under when it comes to like reports and reporting and expenses and revenue and number of cars sold, number of cars looked at, CRs. I mean, just the list. So I'm looking at him, and he's definitely a super great guy, but I thought, hey, why not get a hold of you and have you kind of walk me through this? I'm kind of a new guy, right? I'm not an auction guy. So what kind of reports do, say, independent auctions? Let's talk about independent auctions because I like independent auctions. What kind of reports do they look at? KPIs. What kind of KPIs?
KPIs?
Yeah. As a general manager of an auction.
Yeah. Well, since I just started at an independent auction, working, I got to come up with my own. So I've got some history with the bigwigs, or whatever you want to call them, the ivory towers, if you will.
Conglomerates.
The conglomerates. There we go. I like that one. But, as a small guy, we kind of got to figure it out on our own. So I've come up with some ways to do it. And one of the coolest things I did is I decided we're going to measure three things. Because number one, the human brain remembers things in odd numbers a lot better. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. The bigger that you get, the bigger the number, the harder it is to remember. So 3 is a perfect number. So we landed on 3 measurements that we're doing. And we're measuring how many cars we sell compared to what is budgeted or what we need to make unbudgeted. So we can figure out a number, right? Average revenue. And then we take that times how many cars. We can say, okay, that's about the revenue we're going to generate. So number 1, cars sold. Off of that, we use 2 more pieces. We take the total amount of revenue we generate and divide it by the number of cars sold. That gives me a number. So let's just say it's, $750. Or maybe it's $1,000 because I need easy math. So it's
I'm an easy math guy, yeah.
Yeah, so it's $1,000. And then
now that's on the buy and the sell side, and we're talking one unit?
That's everything. So let's say we run 500 cars today and we sell, easy math, 250 or at 50%. So I'll take all the fees. How much did I get on a buy fee? How much did I get on a sale fee? How much did I get? Were there any title fees included in that? Was there a PSI on there? Was there an arbitration fee? All the, those things you loved that dealers love, fees, and more fees. So all the... Well, you're squirming a little bit. So we take all those fees and we divide it by the number of cars we sold, and then it gives me a number. So that's my revenue per car sold. So now I've got a metric to measure on. So I got 2 metrics so far, right? How many cars I sell, how much revenue per car am I making? Third number I'm using right now is the cost per car sold. Now I've got a balance. So I take all the expenses, and this one's really hard to calculate. So you got to look at your P&L. And it's usually a historical number until you get your history. But if you start getting consistent, we can talk about some of that too. Once you start getting consistent, I use a 90-day average. So in the last 90 days, I take the total number of cars sold in that period, total amount of expenses, everything, and then I divide it. And then I come up with a number. So now at least I have a target to work off of. So when I have a sale, so today was the second sale of the month. Now I've got 2 weeks worth of numbers. I add all those numbers together, take all the revenue and divide it out by the number sold. And I can say, okay, how am I doing on this month? So now I got some numbers to track on and say, okay, am I going to be coming close to budget? And it helps me figure out with the expenses, we're kind of guessing. If we make a bunch of mistakes in arbitration, that's going to hurt us. If we make some other mistakes, or let's say we got to do some repairs that were unexpected, or a new subscription comes up due that we missed, or who knows what, but that'll get thrown into those numbers, and it can mess us up a little bit, which is why I say I use the 90-day average, and then we got to get consistent. So those are the 3 things I'm measuring.
Okay, so let's go back over them. Number 1 is the revenue. How many cars?
So number 1 is number of cars sold.
Number of cars sold.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2 is how much you made off all those cars sold.
Correct. The gross revenue
with all
per
the
car.
fees.
Yep.
Sell
Absolutely.
fee, buy fee, PSI,
Yep.
whatever. Okay.
Yep.
And then number 3 was expenses.
Yeah.
90-day average of expenses. So
Yep.
one more time. Number 1, how many cars do we run?
Cars sold. No, sold.
Cars sold. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Sorry. How many
Yep.
cars did we sell this week? How much revenue did we make off of that number? And how much did it cost us to sell those cars?
And I use cars sold on purpose versus cars entered, because just because you enter a car doesn't mean you're necessarily going to generate any revenue on it. You basically have to sell the car to start generating revenue. You can get some miscellaneous revenue.
Yeah, that reminds me. I remember back in the day, they used to charge you just to run a car. Is that still a thing?
No, we are. I'm not charging you to run a car.
Okay. So if it doesn't sell, no fee.
Yeah, if it doesn't sell, there's no fee. Correct.
Okay. Got it. All right.
Unless you ask for some, maybe you asked for a pre-sale inspection, you want me to inspect it, and then I'm going to charge you a fee. Some auctions charge CR fees. Hey, Mr. Dealer Man, do you want to sell this car before it goes up? Yeah, okay. We're going to put a CR on it. It's $35, $40, whatever it is, $25.
In those 3 metrics, KPIs that you're talking about there, try to weave in for me, if you can, value-based leadership and culture.
Ooh.
Because I think there's an attachment to how many cars did we get in the sale? So we have our auction sales rep, we have commercial accounts, but how many cars did we get in the sale? And that's just one small part of this number, these 3 different KPIs, these reports that you look at. Lead me into some kind of understanding as a general manager of an independent auction. You're looking at how many cars did we sell, how much did we make off those cars that we sold, and what were our expenses. So now you get into granular. I would think it would be granular. My people. Are my people being efficient? Is that a part of this equation?
Absolutely, it's part of the equation. We want people to be efficient, but how we make them efficient is the key piece, and that's when the value-based leadership comes in. Let's say we're not hitting the revenue that we expect per car, or maybe our expenses are too high per car sold. Okay, so now we need to have a conversation with our employees, with the management team, and that's what I do. I have conversations with the management team, and I'll go back and say, hey, we need to fix arbitrations. Arbitrations are really high. We inherited 5 cars last month, and it cost us $10,000. And so that comes right off the bottom line, but that affects our cost per car sold. Now, if I just run at everybody and say, hey, you got to get your shit together, stop making mistakes on CRs, quit missing frame on the post-sale inspections, and make sure you got all your announcements right every time. And if that's the only thing I cover, after a while, they're going to wear out. I could probably do that once, maybe twice, 3 times, I'm going to be out. Nobody wants it. So that's where that value-based leadership comes in. Okay, let's just say we're struggling with frame damage structure. That's just an easy one. In arbitration, and we've started to eat a couple of cars. Okay, now I need to go work with my CR team or mechanics, find out where the problem is. Hey, Todd, you've been inspecting these cars. What's going on back here? And then start going through that value-based leadership. How do I create it? In that other podcast, we talked about, the 4 things: trust, hope, empathy, and humility. So let's go, we called it right? So THHE, trust, hope, humility, and empathy. So I got to go build trust with my team to make sure we're doing the right thing. Because they're already yelling at me. Why did you inherit that car? I had it right. Okay, well, let's talk about this. And then you've got to be humble enough to understand that we're making some mistakes. You got to be empathetic to work with them to say, hey, you know what? We can get better. We've got this. I've got your back. And so now we're starting to work. And you got to build up hope. Hey, the future is going to be bright. You're going to have a lot more cars. We're going to have a lot more opportunities to kick butt. That's how I'm going to fix those problems. I'm going to weave in.
So that's interesting. So you get the expense report and you see, wow, we're losing a lot of money over here in arbitration. Is that what I just heard?
That's what. Yep.
So you go to the arbitration manager first and have a little talk with him.
Oh, absolutely.
Or you go to the team?
It depends on the situation. Usually I go to the team. For example, we go through and we look at them. So let's just keep playing through with this one on arbitrations. Arbitrations are high. So next managers meeting, we're going to sit down and I show everybody these KPIs. It's part of the CAT we talked about too. Consistency, accuracy, transparency. I'm consistently talking about the values. I'm consistently showing them the numbers. I'm being accurate with them. Here is the information. Here is the P&L. Here's what we're looking at. We're supposed to be at $500 cost per car sold. And unfortunately, we're at $600. We got to trim $100 off. So let's figure out a plan together how we do that. And then we start building the plan. But without having these things to measure, I'm not sure where to go, right? I can pull out the P&L and look at the P&L and go, oh, arbitrations are high this month. Well, yeah, But this helps dial it in just to see on where we really need to focus. What's out of whack? What are the biggest pieces? And most P&Ls will tell you like a percentage base, right? You miss budget on this line item by 100%, 1,000%, 500%. And when arbitrations are high, right, you don't budget for arbitrations. You might for a couple, but all of a sudden you have a bad month, and let's say you get 6 and you were expecting to have 3. Well, now that can really throw off your P&L.
Well, see, as I'm hearing the story, because what was that, 2 weeks ago, I called you and I asked you some questions about how does PSI work at your auction, because I'm at an auction and I'm watching how PSIs work, and I can see real quick how the guys that are doing the frame, run it up on the ramp. I think I asked you this once. Do you have a ramp?
No. Don't have a ramp. There was another auction that had a ramp. Yeah. No ramp.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
No ramp.
So anyway, I'm watching this, the sales getting close to over. There's an area that already is kind of congested, space problem, and it's getting more congested. More cars keep piling in, more cars. And then you got a guy like me who walks up and interrupts the whole process by asking if somebody could please go drive that car, because I've got a truck out here and the dealer's crying and screaming and everybody wants these 2 cars. So Gooch, all of a sudden, he pulls off what he's doing to go accommodate me, the customer, right? I'm the customer and the auction loves, so I was happy about it. But I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, okay, I just interrupted the process. I put a kink in. Now, I'm not saying that's a unique situation at any auction. I would think, especially, I don't know, what's the normal number of PSIs in a week after a sale? I mean, I would say it's got to be significant.
It depends. Yeah. It depends on what accounts you have and where you're at.
I think what I would do, if I looked at the 3 KPIs you just told me, and I looked at the expenses, and my expenses were high in arbitration because I've got a lot of frame damage that we're missing, I would go undercover boss and stand over in the corner and watch the process, right? That's what I would do. Then I would go have a meeting and say, that's after the sale, of course, and have the meeting with the guys and say, hey, here's what we need to work on. What do you think? Because, I mean, I've been to a lot of these auctions, and I think, wow, you guys could use about 3 more guys. You're going to get this done by 6? Really?
But then, so that's perfect. That fits in perfect. So let me go hire those 3 more guys. Oh, wait a second. Well, now our cost per car sold just went from, budget of 500. We were at 600 because of arbitrations. Now I added labor. Oh, wow. Now we're up to $650 per car. And then that's when you get a phone call from the owner of the auction. Hey, Rich, what's going on? Oh, those guys I hired? I thought they were going to fix the arbitration. Yeah, I'm going to need another 90 days. I mean, they don't want to hear that. You and I've talked about this. They expect a lot of people expect this stuff to happen now, fast.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so I got you off track there a little bit, but
you're good.
As I'm like a new auction manager. I didn't make it to Auction Academy yet. I'm thinking about enrolling in Auction Academy, but I'm just kind of winging it. I'm kind of learning. And so you're kind of educating me. As you look through these and you see the discrepancies, or you see for example, let's talk about when you see a number that's great. Those 3 numbers that you talked about, number of cars sold, revenue, expense. When you see great numbers, great KPIs, then what do you do? Value-based leadership guy.
Celebrate. You got to celebrate all the victories. Absolutely. You got to go tell your team good job. Even if you told them yesterday good job, go tell them a good job again today. People don't ever get sick and tired of that. And it also helps set up a conversation.
I agree with that.
It's like, hey, we did a great job. We kicked butt on cars sold last month. We beat our budget again for cars sold. Yeah, how did we do on the rest of the P&L? They ask me these questions because they know it's coming. Oh, well, we kind of struggled on our cost per car sold. What happened? Well, I noticed that there was some trouble in the mechanic shop, or maybe it was the CRs, but we're missing some frames that cost us some arbitrations. And then we start forming a plan. Okay, how are we going to fix this? So in your example, you said you'd go undercover boss. I've built up a relationship with my team, and I trust my team when we do one-on-ones, that I'll go and talk to the manager, point out these things, have these conversations. You and I've talked about it. We do one-on-ones with the team all the time. And we ask them what's working well? Remember my 3 questions? What's working well? What's not working well? And how can I help you? So now this falls right back into that conversation. So Ty, you're my mechanic shop manager. What's working well? You're going to tell me, hey, you know what? We're getting a lot of PSIs done. We're getting a lot of cars through. We're getting a lot of stuff. Ty, what's not working well? Oh man, I'm frustrated that we keep inheriting some of these cars, or missing some frames. Okay, how can I help? Now they start thinking out loud and they start coming up with solutions. Maybe the solution is, hey, can you play undercover boss? Can you give me some help? I need some training. Who knows what it is? But now I've invited them to invite me into their world. That's how we do that. That's how all this stuff comes together.
And again, and as I'm hearing this, I'm thinking, okay, so this is actually really important and really good information for a guy who's trying to manage an auction with what, 30, 40, 50 employees running around?
Yeah.
And on top of a couple hundred dealers every week, would they all have a need?
Yes. I love the dealers.
So love the dealer, baby. That's some
Love the dealer.
a t-shirt. Love the dealer with a big heart. And then on the back,
there we
it
go.
says transport guy.
T-shirts. A hashtag love the dealer.
Hashtag love. There you go. Perfect.
And then on the back, we'll put meet me at the gate.
Hey, meet me at the gate. Okay. I like it. Being a leader at an auction, if I'm hearing you right, you're engaging with your people, your teams, your CR team, your check-in team, your check-out team, your mechanic team, your arbitration team, your sales team. You're checking in with them on a daily basis. That's what I think I'm hearing.
Absolutely.
You're establishing a relationship with them. You're talking about how's your day going at work. Because really, you know, if you come to work and maybe you don't like your job, or maybe you kind of do, you're just having a bad day. But if you know somebody's going to swing by and say, hey, how you doing today? You know, kind of pat on the back. How you doing, buddy? You're building trust, that cat again. Consistency, accuracy, and transparency with those teams. And as you build that, you've been in here long enough now. I think, is it safe for you to say that you're seeing results?
Yeah, we're seeing some results, but I want to caution people on that because everybody expects change to happen really fast because we live in this society where it's instant gratification, right? You go to Google and you type in, I want to find tickets to the basketball game. Bam, here it comes. You go into a search and you go into MMR and you put in the VIN number and you want a price back instantly, right? Well, change doesn't work like that. We're coming into an organization and building a culture and putting these things in actually takes, are you sitting down? You ready for this?
Yeah.
3.
If you want me to guess, I will, but
guess. 3 is the first number.
No, I was going to go
3 to
2.
3 blank.
3, wow.
2 what? 2 what? 2 months? 2 weeks?
2 years. I was going to say 2 years.
3 years minimum. To actually have completely turned the corners, 3 to 5 years based on all the research and all the studies to completely transform a culture and make it and basically rid the old ways and get into the new ways. So when you actually walk in and go, wow, this is totally different. This isn't anything like I ever remember. I mean, so we start feeling it. We got signs of it right now. People are like, wow, it's different here. We still have some people coming in going, wow, this is still the same old blah, blah, blah. Yep. Still the same old blah, blah, blah. But that also helps me. So we got value-based culture. So when somebody comes in and says, oh, this is still the same blah, blah, blah. Yep. That tells me a lot right there. So now they're on the fence. I got to they're either going to run away and never come back, or I get a chance to explain to them how we've fixed or how we're fixing it and working on it. And then I get to tell them a story. And then they make a decision. They either like my story and they stick around and then we turn them over into new customers or customers for life. Or they're like, you know what? I really don't like that way. I still like the old way. I'm out of here, and they never come back. Now, I've had some of both since I've been here, but I can tell you right now that I've had, for every 10 people that walk through the door and I explain that story to them, 9 of them stay, 1 leaves.
Oh, okay.
So
good.
it actually works
really
out.
good.
And here's the other piece we talk about. We just mentioned consistency, accuracy, and transparency, and that A really stands for integrity. And so I apply this across the board. And people will come in and they'll say, hey, I haven't been here in a while. And we'll look up in the notes and I'll look in there and I look and see, customer refused to pay 3 different times for 3 cars. You know what, dude, I'm really sorry, but I don't see a way on how we're going to make this work, right? Integrity's out the window. Yeah. Or I've had conversations with people and said, hey, you were selling a bunch of cars as is, no arb. And then they bring it back and they want to arbitrate it for structure. Because I read the notes in here and it says that happened. And then you wouldn't take the car back and you told me to go shove it where the sun don't shine. You go, yeah, by NAAA rules and stuff, it says that you have to announce frame structure regardless. So you're not doing that. So you're not holding integrity. So guess what? I'm really sorry. If you want to sell with me, I'm going to be above board and I'm going to follow. I'm going to do everything so it's fair for everybody. So if you want to hide something, if you're not consistent, accurate, and transparent with your car selling or your car buying, this probably is not the auction for you to be in. Those conversations don't happen very often, but I'm working on setting the bar that we are a fair place to do business and we love the dealer. Our target customer is a small independent mom and pop guy. There's more of those guys out there than there are franchise dealers. And once you love them, you've probably got them for life.
Oh, customer for life. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, that brings up another topic that I saw today that I was thinking about. I thought about you. So I'm at this auction. It's a smaller corporate auction, and I was looking at it. I said, okay, here's the cars. So whose cars are here? How many? Okay, so there's a couple of fleet commercial accounts there that I was actually kind of interested. Like, whoa, how did they get here? Some bigger names that we all know. And so then I thought, okay, what's next? There's this many cars, and then you look and it's just a 2-lane sale. It's a small sale. There's this many cars, and then you look and there's this many dealers. Now, you and I talk about Vibe a lot, and this place had a lot of energy, by the way. I mean, you could feel it. Everybody was excited to be there. Everybody's excited to see the cars. One of the things that I'm curious where I'm going with this is one of the things that I would like to know is in your KPI, is there a section for how many buyers we have here this week? And how do we get more buyers? Is that part of that at all?
Oh, yeah, it can be part of it. And I look at that stuff, but I don't go to my team and say, and track that per se to measure it and inspect it. But yeah, I've got a dashboard and it tells me how many dealers I sign up on a rolling 30-day average. So I know right where I'm at on how many dealers. So that's a number.
So that's a conversation more with sales. That's just more of a conversation with the sales team, I would think.
So you'd break it down on your KPIs. So me as a general manager, I have those 3 big KPIs. And when you boil those down together, I can get pretty close to guessing what my EBITDA is going to be, my earnings per interest before taxes and amortization. So I can look at that and find out how much money am I going to make the owner or the investor or whoever it is. What numbers I'm going to throw that. I can calculate that pretty good. But for each department, you got to break down and probably start having 3 KPIs, which is perfect. So sales, perfect. One of them could be how many new buyers or how many buyers do we have here? How many new cars did we register? Fresh cars did we get? And how many cars did we sell? Each department can have their own set of KPIs. Yeah. I love the number 3 because it's easier to measure. And here's the other thing. If you're a new manager and you're just starting an auction or a department, come up with 3 things that you can measure and test it for a little while. If it works, awesome. If it doesn't, go back and change it. No one said this was, carved in stone, right?
Well, that's a good point because I'm thinking of back when I had 20 trucks, 20 drivers, owner operators, brokers license, people running around, cars everywhere. And I was okay, so what I might look at isn't necessarily what the next guy's going to look at. What you're saying is, and I heard you say this more than once so far, it's pick 3. Pick 3 things to look at. It doesn't have to be your 3. It can be something else that maybe that, I was thinking again about autonomy. That where I was at today might have been a franchise corporate conglomerate auction. You could really tell. So there was I needed something. And I thought, well, this is going to be a train wreck trying to get this. I was trying to get a dealer signed up and get a bidder badge so that I could go bid on a car for this guy. I thought, man, this is just going to be no way. So I know the general manager. Hey, Doug, how's it going? Great. I meet him, tell him what I'm doing. He says, go talk to Megan behind the counter, give her this auction access number, and you should be good to go. I'm like, no way. No, it's not that easy. There is nothing that easy. Now, I don't know if it's more complex, if she was in, because it's a small group of people with that autonomy. They know their dealer base, they know their cars, they know these things, and able to kind of navigate through it quick because we're buddies, or if it's really that easy. But either way, I was very impressed. So back to KPIs, back to measuring things, I'm looking at, it doesn't necessarily have to be how many cars did you run, what kind of revenue did you get off those cars, and what were the expenses attached to them, which to me, those seem pretty fundamental, but you can pick 3 other ones or swap one out. Is that fair?
Yeah. So let's go around the auction. We'll see how far we can get. So let's go to check-in. You're the check-in manager. You need to have 3 KPIs just for your team that would roll up to what I would do. Well, one of those numbers is, right, easy one, cars sold. As check-in employee, you're going to affect cars sold. Okay, so let's come up with 3 KPIs. What could we do? What could we measure at check-in? Well, number 1 could be how many cars did we check in per day? Okay. Number 2 measurement could be
a good one.
How many did we have any errors this week that caused us arbitration issues? Like, did we miss a trim level on a model? Did we miss a miles? Heaven forbid. So check-in is so important. If let's say you enter miles wrong and it gets all the way to the block and it sells and it doesn't match the title, now you got now you got a mess. Yeah. So that's important. So it's a very simple thing. So there's 2 numbers worth measuring at check-in. How many cars did we check in this week and how many errors did we make? And of course, now people are going to go, Rich, you're all about numbers again. No, I'm not. I'm still about people. We can have conversations with people.
Well, I was
and
thinking
work with them.
The KPI I would like to know on check-in is days. So
there you go.
Tuesday,
There you go. There's
we
your three
jammed
numbers.
up.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's your three
Which
numbers.
days were we
Yeah.
the most crazy?
Bingo.
Yeah, so then you go to CR. So everywhere we go in the auction, and
yeah. So let's just stick with check-in for a second. So you just hit a perfect one. So sale day, right? So day before the sale or early morning before the sale, you know you're going to get slammed. It's just obvious. I mean, we're stating the obvious. But how obvious is it? Okay. Now, if you're taking these 3 KPIs and you're measuring them, you can actually predict how many people you need and what you need to do. Hey, tomorrow we're expecting. Hey, Ty, you're in sales. How many cars are you expecting tomorrow? Are you the transportation guy? Perfect. Hey, Ty, how many cars are you bringing in tomorrow? Oh, Rich, I got. What was our number from the other night? We got 56 cars at 19 locations, right? So you're going to bring me, I got 56 coming.
Yeah.
Oh, now we find out from each transporter what they're bringing in. Hey guys, we're expecting 250 cars tomorrow for the sale coming in. Okay, now what can we handle on a day? Ooh, we only usually do 190 cars at check-in on a day. Okay, guess what, guys? Tomorrow's going to be a bigger day. We're going to need 2 more people down there just to help do check-in. So now you can go back and you can back into some of that. You can back into your numbers when you have KPIs. Inspect what you expect.
Yeah.
But don't be a jerk about it.
Hey, I've heard that before.
Inspect what you expect.
Where'd you hear that? I've heard that from Rapid Recon. Dennis McGeehee.
I've heard it from a lot of people. It's an old one I've heard. I'm sorry. But Dennis didn't. I don't know Dennis.
Okay,
you have to introduce me to Dennis. So let's talk about transportation.
I'm trying to get them to come to the big event.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get them down here. So let's talk about trucks. So you're driving. I've almost got your deal down. I've got your speech down. Hi, I'm Ty, the transport guy.
20 trucks.
Hang on, let me do it. I'm Ty, the transport guy. I started out with a 1 ton and a wedge, and I worked my way. I lost a lot of money in the first year, probably $15,000. Then I worked my way up. In 7 years, I had 20 trucks, all Stingers, and they held 9 cars each. Okay, so now we need to fill those 20 cars or 20 trucks with 9 cars each. So 20 times 9, that's big. Now you're blowing my math. Let's go 10. 20 times 10, now you got to get 200 cars. So we're at 200 cars. How long is it going to make? Where are you going to go? And how you can do it? So now you can come up with your own KPIs. Just give me 3. Just start with 3. Don't overwhelm yourself. How many cars do you need to move to keep them full? You know what your cost is, right? You know what your lease is or your write-off on those trucks. You can kind of figure out for that and start figuring out where your number is.
Absolutely. Yeah, so one of my favorites was every week I'm guaranteed have the report on my desk or sent to me somehow. I have the report. So what I always like to do was similar to you. My number one was how many cars did I move last week? That was always my first thing. So I moved 1,500 cars last week. Okay. My next KPI, but this is probably crazy, but my next was, of those 1,500, who were the top 5 movers? So what I'm doing is I'm keeping track of my client base. So my client base are dealers and auctions that call me direct and want to move cars. So the reason I keep track of the top 5 isn't because I want to go put my nose in their rear end. It's because I want to see who am I missing. Because in car hauling world, once you have a certain amount of all of your revenues coming from these guys, that's a problem. We want it to come from these guys. That's the way I did it. So I would always keep an eye on that number because I don't want to love the little guy. And that's hard. It's hard work. But we built systems and procedures and how to deal with the guy who bought 2. And we got good at it.
So as I say, let's go to value-based leadership just based on what you said. So let's create hope now. Everybody's like, how do you create hope? Okay, so you said you use your report to look back how many cars they moved last week. Okay, so now you've started establishing averages and you probably have a budget, or at least the auctions will have a budget on cars sold. We can say cars moved, cars sold, either one, pick one. Okay, so now you know what your numbers are. Okay, so this week you need to do 200 to hit your number. So now we start creating hope. Hey guys, last week we did 195. We were really close to what we need to do this week. We got to get 200 cars moved this week or today or whatever that is, and say, okay, let's form a game plan. Who can we go do? And now instead of talking about past tense, what did we do last week? Now we're talking about what can we do today? And the language you use creates the future that you want. Do you want to move 200 plus cars this week? Absolutely. Then let's talk about moving 200 plus cars this week. If you go the other way, it's like now you're talking in the negative. Who wants to live in the past? Nobody, right? You've heard my car analogy, I think, before, haven't you? Why the windshield's big and the rear view is small. The car analogy, why the windshield's big Okay, so we have these cars every day. It's a windshield. The windshield is there so we can see where we're going. It's to see the future, to see what we want to do. The rear view mirror is up there as a little tiny thing. What is that for? It's to see the past. Why? If we really wanted to live in the past, we'd have a great big ass rear view mirror, right? Stop living in the past. It's a little tiny mirror on your windshield. That is for safety, to make sure you don't back over anything, to know where you've been. Look out the windshield. Look at the future. Create hope. How many cars can we move this week? Last week we did 190. We're going to do 210 this week. Here's how we're going to do it. How do I know that? Because I got all the information and I'm going to help you. So, Ty, let's talk about this. How can we move 210 cars this week?
Beautiful. I love it. That's exactly the way you do it.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Meet Me at the Gate. I hope the conversation has helped to fuel your drive and equip you with insights to steer your team towards success. Remember, the road to success is always under construction. And until next time, keep your engines revving and your gas tanks full.